So Riley.
Did you want taste?
Yes. So Riley has done with it and
Coaching is a.
Ninkuko.
I just. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Julie comes and Julie emails me.
He was like a vampire. I do full job.
Right.
I don't know.
What are you drinking?
I don't know.
How are you?
It's been a long time since in person. I know, right?
All right. So I would like to call the business meeting of the Portland Board of Public Education to order. It is Tuesday, June 18th, 2024. We're meeting in a hybrid format. Tonight, we will not have Board Member Bilyeu with us. And we have a couple of student reps coming late because of end of school year activities. And I think those are all the updates on attendance that I have. So Deputy Superintendent Townsend, will you please call the roll?
Yes, good evening, everybody. Member Ali,
Here.
Member Bilyeu, Vice Chair Bondo,
Présente.
Member Bryden.
Here.
Member Figdor.
Here.
Member Grant. Member Noor.
Here.
Member Opperman.
Here.
Student Representative Hayden. Student Representative Kentiba. Student Representative Knight. Student Representative McDonald. Student Representative Rosado. Student Representative Kunku. And Chair Lentz.
Present. And Student Representative Hayden is present online right now. She just raised her hand. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Okay. And now the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Portland Public Schools recognizes the original inhabitants of the land on which our city and schools stand. The Wolastoqiyik, or Maliseet, Micmac, Penobscot, and Passamaquoddy tribes, known collectively as the Wabanaki Confederacy, or people of the Dawnland. We are honored to have Wabanaki children among our students today, and as a district, we are committed to making the past, present, and future of Wabanaki peoples visible in our schools and classrooms. To remind us of our mission, the Portland Public Schools is responsible for ensuring a challenging, relevant, and joyful education that empowers every learner to make a difference in the world. We build relationships among families, educators, and the community to promote the healthy development and academic achievement of every learner. And our definition of equity. Equity is all people being held to high expectations and having access to opportunities that are reflective of their individual needs, identities, and experiences. Equity is achieved in Portland Public Schools when there are no identifiable differences in outcomes and experiences for any population subgroup. And now we're going to move on to public comment. If you would like to give public comment, please come up to the podium or raise your Zoom hand. Okay, I'm not seeing anybody here. Deputy Superintendent Townsend, could you help me move Student Representative Hayden over to a panelist also on Zoom if that's possible? Thank you. Okay, so I'm not going to read all of the reminders and guidelines about public comment. I'm going to give it another beat and we'll go ahead and close public comment. We're going to flip the order of remarks tonight. So Superintendent is going to start first.
Good evening, everyone. I'm going to start tonight with a sad and somber update. Rex Razmi, a sixth grade student at King Middle School, passed away in a drowning accident in the Presumpscot River this weekend. This loss has profoundly impacted all of us. Rex was known for his smile and sense of humor. His presence will be deeply missed by his classmates, teachers, and everyone who had the pleasure of knowing him. On Monday, when we learned of Rex's passing, I had the time to go over and meet with the staff at King, and just to hear the stories that they were sharing just in that time, in that morning, of their experiences with Rex as he had finished his 6th grade year there, was unbelievably touching. And just it was clear that in his year there, the impact that he had and his memory there and the significance that he had both as a student with his peers and his friends, but also on the staff there. And they talked about not just his laugh, but his smile and his sense of humor is significant. It's a reminder of the fact that our work is significant. And that it goes beyond just the academic pieces, but around making sure that we are supporting students in all aspects. Part of that work is the work that we have done over the last several years, both pre-pandemic as well as continuing now, to make sure that all of our students have access to swim lessons, and that is work that some of our current staff are continuing next year. And so we'll look forward to continuing that both in Rex's honor, but also in other students who have passed along in tragic situations such as this. And so we send our deepest condolences to Rex's family. We will remember Rex for the joy he brought into our lives and the positive impact he's had on the school community. And so I would just ask that we take a moment in memory of Rex here now. Thank you. We shared this with our leaders today during our leadership retreat, and we will share this online as well, and perhaps through the foundation. We are actively supporting Rex's family as well in terms of raising money for his services. And so there will be opportunities to give there. And so Grace and Andy, if you can sort of help with that messaging, that will be appreciated. The superintendent update this evening is going to feel a little bit different. As we come to the end of the school year, it serves as a good opportunity to reflect on the many successes of Portland Public Schools. As I started down this exercise, I have to be honest, I started down it a couple of weeks ago and needed to call in the support of several staff members, as it quickly became clear that our students and staff are leaders in the classroom, the community, on the field, and on the court. And while I know I'm missing several recognitions, and that's always the risk of doing this type of thing, we wanted this evening to use the superintendent's comments as an opportunity to highlight some of the Portland Public Schools 2023-2024 accolades and accomplishments. And we're not going to hit them all in the public comment or in this tonight, but if you go on our website, you will see even more of them highlighted there. And so I encourage you to please take a moment to check that out, because I think you will see that we truly have amazing students, amazing staff in the schools and in the central office. And we just want to take a moment as we close out a year to highlight some of those work. Marwa Aslami, a standout 2023 graduate of Casco Bay High School, attending the University of Southern Maine in September, was named the recipient of the Mainly Character Scholarship, sponsored by Northern Light Health. She was recognized for her determination as well as her many accomplishments. In September, as you can see in the top right, Portland High School seniors Adrian Darlington, Caden Hemon, and Matan Schoenfeld were named as semifinalists in the 2024 National Merit Scholarship Program, which honors students who show exceptional academic ability. Also, Caden, who incidentally was PHS's class of 2024 valedictorian at commencement on June 5th and a school board student representative, was one of just 6 Maine students named, slide here, was named a semifinalist in the U.S. Presidential Scholars Program, which recognizes the nation's most distinguished graduating high school seniors. 12 Portland High School students were selected to attend Olympia Snow's Women's Leadership Institute Fall Forum in Bangor as Olympia's leaders in September. Casco Bay High School students, their college aspirations were on display in December when they marched down Congress Street to the downtown post office, and 100% of their class was accepted to college. In case you didn't know, right? But they will argue with you and tell you this fact. In January, the Deering High School debate team won the 2024 Maine State Speech and Debate Championship. The Deering team won the Varsity Public Forum. They placed second in the state for public forum and third in the state for the congressional debate. The Blue Huron, the Casco Bay High School Student Literary Magazine, was recognized in January for first in class by the National Council of Teachers of English. The reward recognizes excellence in art and literary magazines. It is the only student magazine in Maine to receive the top honor. One of our PATH students received a groundbreaking cybersecurity program at PATHS, and it's a significant milestone by passing the COMP, TIA, CYSA certification exam. This is the first time that a PATH student has earned this recognition. And two of our own alums sitting right here were recently elected to Portland Public Schools, right? Give a couple shout outs to my bosses here. Miss Ali, a 2018 Portland High School graduate, won an at-large seat, and Fatuma Noor, 2019 Deering High School graduate, won the District 4 seat. Creative artwork from Portland Public School students were included in more than 80 pieces of art in the Portland Museum of Art's annual Youth Art Month exhibit, which showcased the incredible talent of art education programs across Maine. Sebastian Milston Jones, a ninth grade student at Casco Bay High School, took second place in the second annual statewide student writing contest, in which students write about the positive impact of teachers upon their lives. In addition, Shakuri Ibrahim, also a freshman at Casco Bay, won honorable mention in the same category. The 2024 Maine State Science Fair took place on March 23rd at the University of Maine, and numerous students received distinguishing awards, including a Deering High School student who placed second in chemistry and materials, a Casco Bay High School student that received the Reach Award for the Maine Mathematics and Science Alliance, a Casco Bay High School student who received the Special Award for the Association for Women Geoscientists, a Casco Bay student who received third prize for animal science, and another that got a $2,000 scholarship for the University of Maine's School of Forest Resources. We've talked about this before, but if we want to talk about PATH students, they racked up multiple awards and outstanding achievements at the 2024 Maine Skill USA State Conference in March, including the gold medal state pin design, as well as numerous, let's see here, 8 gold medals, it looks like, 6 silver medals and a bronze medal. And just congratulations to them on that. Going down a little bit to our elementary school students, Odyssey the Mine teams at Rowe and Lyseth distinguished themselves at the Northeast Tournament in Biddeford. Last year, Rowe Elementary started a parent-led Odyssey of the Mine Club. The club sent 3 teams to the Northeast Tournament, and 2 teams last year placed first and second. This year, Rowe was able to send 4 teams of 7 students each, so 28 students to the tournament, and 2 teams placed in the top 3. The Classics teams placed second in their problem in division, and the Rowe technical team placed first with the special achievement of a perfect score. One of those teams went on to compete in nationals and then the worlds. In addition, Lyseth Elementary School has a newly formed parent-led club. That club fielded 2 teams at the tournament, with their vehicle team placing third and their technical team placing second. The Deering High School junior top team, junior high school had a 11th grader that took first place in Tyler Technologies 2024 Maine App Challenge for creating a system for easily scheduling parent-teacher conferences, which many of our parents have now experienced. This is one that if you went downstairs right now, you could actually see. And if Kevin Stilfen, our director of PATHS, was nice enough, you could have a pretty sweet drive on your way home. And so you may not know this, but Portland High School automotive program students William Cutler and Harrison Benke placed first in the Ford ACE Student Automotive Skills Competition. As winners, they were awarded room and board scholarships to Central Maine Community College. They received over $2,500 in tool prizes, enhancing their future careers in automotive technology. The Paths Automotive Program also received a remarkable prize, a brand new 2024 Mustang GT. Portland High School also was recognized by the National Latin Exam for the number of students that they had receiving national or state recognition for their accomplishments, over 43 students. And last year, just in terms of our alumni, is if you had an opportunity to join them, Deering High School celebrated its 150th anniversary this year. Oh, sorry, I missed a slide there. So you can see the Mustang right there. We also had students excel on the field. And so we've talked about this, but just to recognize it again, the completeness of our students, the Portland High School boys cross country won the state title for the first time in 45 years. Portland High's Samantha Moore was the Class A cross country state champion. The Deering High School boys soccer team won the Class A South boys soccer championship game. The first time the Rams played in a regional match since 1999, and the Portland High School football team won the Class A Northern football championship. And if you're new to Portland, such as myself, you learned a new word this year, the Ram Dogs, in recognition of the cooperative girls swim team of Deering and Portland High School, which won the Class A girls swimming and diving state championship in February. Part of this work, right, as we do this, we also want to recognize the staff that made this possible. And so, again, we can't manage possibly to recognize all of the great things, but it's worth, just as we come to an end of the year, that we put out in the space the great staff that we have that does remarkable things. This year, it started with a great feature that took place in the Portland Press Herald that was a recognition of our bus drivers and our transportation team, including Lisa Martell, and the work that highlighted our transportation team and the fact that they were fully staffed at the beginning of the year. In the top right, you can see Joshua Chard, our East End Community School educator, who was also named Maine's Educator of the Year, which was, I believe, if I have this right, the third time in the last 4 years that a Portland educator was named that. In the bottom left, in May, the Maine Environmental Education Association recognized Portland Public Schools as the School of the Year or District of the Year for helping students develop a deeper understanding of environmental issues. Because this work is district-led and it's led by our environmental literacy coordinator, Katie West, it actually was recognized as a District of the Year. And so just congratulations to the district and Katie West for that work. And on the bottom right, Courtney Graffius, the Portland Public Schools Technology Integration Coordinator, in March received the 2024 School Administrator of the Year Award presented by the Maine Association of School Libraries. The award honors administrators who have helped develop strong and effective school library media programs in their district. Courtney was nominated by PPS librarians in recognition of all she has helped to do to build out the library program. Congratulations goes out to Greg Tosi, Deering High School's longtime athletic director, who received the Bill Cox Service Award in April. He received this for his dedication to athletes' well-being and his professionalism. In the top right, I don't know if she's here tonight. There we go. Miss Cooper, Jen Cooper, was recognized as the Maine Education Association's 2024 Joan McGovern Education Support Professional Award. Ms. Cooper is the president of the union representing our edtechs, and she was recognized for her outstanding accomplishments and significant contributions to public education. She is now Maine's nominee for the National Education Support Professional of the Year. Congratulations. Yeah, we can give her a round of applause since she's here. She also looks thrilled in that picture to be getting that recognition. Thank you, Jen. We shared this before, but I just want to put it in the space again. In May, Deering High School Administrative Secretary Leanna Littig won a Recognizing Inspiring School Employees Rise Award for the extraordinary contributions she has made to students, her school, and the community. This award was presented to her by the Maine Department of Education and is provided to only 2 of the support staff across the state. And she, again, is now a nominee for the national recognition. And so we have great students and we have great staff. And I just want to also recognize that there's also work that the district has done across teams. And so this year, after more than 5 years of a highly collaborative process with Indigenous advisors from across the Dawnland, of which Maine is a part, the Portland Public Schools has officially launched a Wabanaki Studies curriculum. A full implementation of that curriculum was in place for kindergarten, 1st, 3rd, and 7th grade for the 23-24 school year. And a partial implementation took place this year in grades 2, 4, and 5. A highly collaborative process with Black education advisors is also being used to develop the local Black history curriculum, which will also use local history to contextualize and connect national and international histories, events, topics, and themes with Maine and New England. If you had an opportunity earlier this year, about a month ago, you could have also seen the launch of some of the videos that are going along to accompany that. And so just a huge congratulations and recognition to the work that's been supported by the foundation, but also Fiona Hopper and the consultants that are leading this work. And so just a big recognition and thank you for that. The Portland Public Schools in May also received a District of Distinction Gold Level Award at the Northeast Positive Behavior Intervention and Support PBIS Leadership Forum for the district's PBIS implementation efforts. And so just congratulations to Joanna Frankel and Chris Reiger for their work on that and their partnership. I also want to recognize the work that has happened this year with our finance team and the implementation that they have done around ADP, the passing of the budget, and the work that is now going on to address Maine PERS and the work to support our overall financial health. And so just credit to that team as well. Just a couple of other pieces just to recognize the work that the district has done this year in all but one elementary and middle school. The district launched a high-quality ELA curriculum called EL Education. The curriculum provides teachers with grade-level lessons, texts, and assessments to ensure rigorous content and engaging topics for all students. We also adopted the Core Knowledge Language Arts, which is CKLA skills program in all schools. This program, along with the EL Education curriculum, is aligned to the body of knowledge known as the science of reading. We're excited that all students have access to these 2 research-based curriculums to ensure that we can have success with students in high school and beyond. 2 last couple pieces, just recognition of the Beyond Borders Conference that happened this fall. This was put on by our Multilingual and Multicultural Center that hosted it this fall. This brought together several hundred educators and community leaders across the state and recognizes the leadership role that we as a district have in supporting and leading multilingual education in the state. And then second, if you had an opportunity this spring to participate in Rock Around the World, it was a fundraiser that had over 250 members of the community participate to raise money to support Make It Happen, which is a program that exists in the district to support our multilingual middle and high school students. And last, we had the opportunity today to engage our leaders around our strategic plan. That is work that the community as a whole has engaged in with, it started early in the fall last year with a Listen and Learn series that brought together feedback and input from approximately 1,000 individuals between community sessions, surveys, and then focus groups. And tonight, the board will be approving it and officially launching that part of our work, which I think of as really a continuation of what we just talked about, of going from here are successes to how do we go from these individual successes to continuing this work and making sure that we see these successes go on for the next 5 years and really drive student outcomes. And so I would just like to thank the board, the community, our staff, and everybody in the school level for all the work that they've done over the last year to make sure that we continue to move Portland Public Schools forward and to be the great place that it is for students. And so with that, Chair, I will pass it back to you.
Thank you. And can we just applaud for everyone that you mentioned and all of that? And I just wanted to congratulate everyone for finishing another school year. The end of year activities were absolutely incredible. I know lots of you were going to all of them around the district, and I just wanted to thank all the teachers and staff that made the end of the year so awesome for all of our kiddos. I know my kiddo every day the last week was so excited to go to school, and that was because of the work that was happening at his school still in those very last days. So I just appreciate that. And just thank you all. More gratitude. We passed the budget. Good job, everyone. And thank you for everyone who was involved in that process. Portland voters showed up once again to show that they really care about our public schools here and are invested in them in all ways. The budget passed with about 70% voting in favor of the budget, and we are very excited about those results. Thank you to everyone who came out to Pride last weekend to ride the school bus and walk with the school bus and blow bubbles and dress in tutus. It was a wonderful, it's always wonderful. And I think this year there were just so many people on the streets and the joy was just palpable, that it was just a really wonderful event to be part of. So just thank you to all of those, especially Kate Phoenix and Aaron Tosi, who did a lot of work behind the scenes to make sure that everybody had beautiful rainbow stickers and bubbles and flags and all the things. So thank you. Such a joyful day. Tomorrow is Juneteenth, which is the celebration of the full enactment of the Emancipation Proclamation. There are events happening all over Portland tomorrow, and I encourage you to seek them out and take the day to learn something more about the end of slavery in our country. If you don't want to go out, you're trying to stay cool, the National Museum of African American History and Culture has an incredible set of resources, videos. A lot of them are kid-friendly as well, so you can check those out. But if you do go out, I just wanted to flag the hot temperatures that are coming the next couple of days. They do think they're going to be pretty warm. So the city has opened several cooling centers this week. The Trobe, I can never say it right. Somebody can correct me. Ice Arena on Park Avenue will be open on Wednesday from 9 to 4:30 and Thursday from 10 to 4 o'clock. You can also cool off on Thursday at the downtown Portland Public Library. Also, the city is urging the public to take advantage of Deering Oaks Ravine, Kiwanis Pool, and several splash pads around the community, but please do your best to stay cool and safe. And finally, I would like to recognize Deputy Superintendent Townsend. Aaron Townsend is going to be transitioning out of his role very shortly, his current role. And I just wanted to take a few moments to recognize all that he has given the district. Aaron is an incredible leader, and over the years in our district has contributed so much. As chair of the board, I've worked with him incredibly closely and have always been incredibly impressed with his level-headedness, even in times of crisis and challenge. And there have been many of those times. He's an incredible relationship builder and has helped so many across the district develop and grow. His dedication and commitment to our students and district is unwavering, and his leadership has helped us get to where we are in this moment. We would not be where we are today without Aaron. Aaron has taken on a superintendent role with Shabag Island. And Aaron, is that how we say it? Shabig? Yeah.
And there's a very specific regional pronunciation that I'm still working on.
Okay, you'll have to report back to us. And they are so lucky to get you and all of your strengths. However, I am excited to say that Aaron is going to be staying on at PPS in a part-time capacity to help lead several of our key strategic initiatives. That means that we get to benefit from Aaron's institutional knowledge and leadership for the year to come. Thank you, Aaron, for all that you have given and all the incredible work that you have done. And while I go and get your gift, oh, here comes Grace with the gift. If there's anyone else that would like to say some words to recognize Aaron, please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Erin, I just want to recognize your incredible work. I'm going to get emotional, I'm sorry, but it's amazing to me how many things you have your hands in, and at the same time, how beloved you are by the staff. You've taken on our hardest problems, leading our COVID response, so much more, juggling so many balls at once, and with such grace that people admire you, people appreciate you deeply, and your relationships are gold. So you truly are my hero. I am so excited to continue to work with you, and also in the work that you're going to do on Shabig. Excuse my pronunciation, apparently. But thank you so much. And I look forward to continuing to work with you and hopefully to get coffee or beers, all the above. So thank you, Erin.
Again, and give you the traditional print. Thank you so much.
Shabig is very lucky to get you. And I've told him so. Erin, when I first came on the board, you were the most gracious person, the first person to come up to me, congratulate me. And it was a contentious time, and I always appreciated that and let everyone know about it. And I wish you well. Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Erin, congratulations. Shabig's very lucky. I'm also glad that we get to continue to get the benefit of your intelligence and experience and wisdom. And as I was reflecting, I was realizing there have been so many very, very, very stressful situations over the last period of time. I've never seen you in a bad mood, ever, which I think is very impressive. So thank you for that, and for all of your hard work for the district.
Go ahead, Vice Chair.
Thank you, Erin. Thank you and congratulations. But I know that you're still around, so I'm not going to go to emotions. So I'm still happy. So we have a story, we have a history, and I just want to say thank you for taking the leadership during the crisis. You've been there, and I'm gonna miss my hard copy because I've been all the time chatting. Then I need something, but your kindness and just your well-being. I mean, just to be there for the student and be your ear to listen and say, okay, we're going to take care and we're going to make sure that everything's going to be all right. So I just want to say thank you, but I know that we still need you. Thank you so much for everything you have done.
Go ahead, Charlotte.
I just wanted to say you've always been very, very patient with all the questions that I have on everything and always answer them in a lot of depth and check in with me if I need any follow-up. So, and you've been very welcoming. So I really appreciate all the work that you've done. So thank you.
Yeah, go ahead.
I guess I'll pile on as well. I really value over the years watching you balance the systems that we need to have operate here in the school system, but also the values that we're trying to live by. I think you've embodied that, what seems to be intention sometimes, but your example is one that shows us how it can work well. And I really appreciate your abilities and your willingness to take on tough tasks and do them with grace, as someone else had said, and also maintain those values that we all share. So thank you for your time with us. And we look forward to more of your time. Maybe not all of it, though.
Thanks, Board Member Grant. Superintendent, did you want to say anything? Sorry to put you on the spot.
Yeah, I mean, I get the joy of talking and working with Erin a lot, and part of it is like, and we'll see you Thursday, right? But I mean, one of the things that's really hard is coming into a district where you don't know what you don't know. And I think back to when I was interviewing here, and I sat down at a table in what's now the office, but I sat down with you and Malia and had an honest conversation around what to expect. And I appreciated that since that conversation, you've been a steady hand in just being able to like sit down and have a real conversation around what's going on and what do we need to know. And just like really impressed with the fact that, somebody said that you've had your hand in so many things, but truly been a steady leader across the whole district. And so appreciate that. I also wish that, folks have a sense of how important your leadership is, but if they could have sat in the circle at 4:00 today and heard folks reflect on just the impact you've had, right? It's wish you could record it, but I think that will sit for a long time with me and hopefully with you about the impact you've had. And so I think Shabig is, or however you say it, but now I'm going to like reflect on it. But look forward to doing that and hopefully can come out and visit and continue the conversation.
No, just want to appreciate all the, kind words. It's been an honor to be in Portland, serve the community here. So that's why I didn't speak today, but so it's been an honor to be here. The responsibility you've entrusted with me, and hopefully, feel like I've delivered on that, and excited about the work moving forward. And so I appreciate Ryan, and our current cabinet team, and certainly the teams that's come. This is the tension of living with the urgency of the work, and knowing the pace over time at which we need to move it forward. So feel proud of how we've moved, various pieces forward here over the past few years, and excited about continuing to support that in ways that I can contribute, and being a supporter of PPS and just all of the amazing things that Ryan went through, or what has made just, the past 6 years be enriching beyond belief, and just the ways I'll continue to always be supportive and a cheerleader for Portland. So it's an amazing place, and thank you all.
Thanks so much, Aaron. Now we're going to move to the foundation.
So I'm not on Zoom. Aaron, would you share my slides? Do you mind? It's the last time I can ask you, so.
I'm just kidding. You should get like a mic drop and be able to like walk out. And you're like, now you need to share the slides.
All perfect. All perfect.
Thanks.
Get there.
Great. So I'll just start with the general intro / disclaimer that this is the last quarterly report, but our quarter is not actually done. And much of this data actually ended a couple weeks ago. So stay tuned for our actual annual report that you'll all get via email by the end of the summer. All right, next slide. I just wanted to start with our summer grants update. This is the third year after a multi-year gap that we invited all staff in the district to apply for funding for collaborative or planning work over the summer. We call our grants teacher grants by habit, but they're open to any staff in the district. And we had what to me was a surprisingly large number of applicants. We had 37 teams apply, asking for $96,000 worth of support. We had budgeted $20,000 for the process. So we increased that and granted $30,000. So that's 16 teams of staff, over 70 individuals who will be paid $40 an hour to do work that will benefit students next year in school. So stay tuned. We'll report back on that in fall. We also will launch our traditional fall grants this fall, and we always get more applications that we can fund. There are always more needs than we can support. But after launching our athletics fund this year, we got a lot of feedback of, that's wonderful, but there's a lot of kids who their way to be engaged in school is not athletics, which of course is true. I was one of those kids. My daughter was one of those kids at Portland Public Schools. And so we reached out and emailed all of the staff who are at middle schools or high schools enlisted as an advisor to a co-curricular club to ask them about their needs and resources. And those who responded, which was about 30, the needs were great. So we've made a commitment in addition to our regular fall grants to distribute at least $20,000 specifically to co-curriculars next year. We know that's kind of a drop in the bucket. Deering has 70 co-curriculars just at at Deering. But some of those groups, like we're imagining that like the Uno Club might be a really important place, but probably doesn't need $2,000. Whereas, you know, the Drama Club probably needs more than $2,000. And we know Model UN is expensive and Science Olympiad and the groups that travel. So we're hoping to actually have that number be greater than 20,000, but of course we have to fundraise. So we're working on that, and next year will be kind of a trial or pilot year. The process of how to distribute that, if it's going to be fully a grant program or, and we know that there are rolling needs throughout the year. So we're working through the process. I welcome your feedback on that between now and say mid-August when we have to make that process public. And then we will, see how it goes and presumably make adjustments for the following year. But that is a new thing to come. Then I have a few event updates. Every year, the Portland Kids Duathlon happens in July. That's a partner-run organization. Benchmark Real Estate sponsors that event, but it's a benefit for the foundation. And it's a really fun event. So if you know or have children between the ages of, I think it's 3 and 12, it's a duathlon means running and biking. And it's set up in a great way. It's a very family-friendly event. And there's also opportunities. There's a cost to register, but that can be waived. So if there are any families who are interested in registering and that cost is prohibitive, or even acquiring a bicycle is prohibitive, if the student knows how to ride a bicycle, we can get them one. So reach out to me and I'll work with Amy to work out those logistics. And then they're also seeking volunteers. So it is a Sunday morning quite early, but you're out and starting the day. And that does raise about $15,000 a year that goes directly into our grant programs for staff. So it's a direct benefit to the district. And then just a quick report out on some events that have happened already. I know I've talked a lot about our Distinguished Alumni Awards, but I did want to draw attention to Christina Libby, who is our Portland High School class of 91 representative, Joe Foley, current Deering High staff member, but also the class of 97 at Deering, and Ekla Ahmed, who was part of Casco Bay's first class. They were outstanding at, we thought we were giving them an award, but they were giving us an award. They each spoke, and they spoke in honor of a staff member at Portland Public Schools that impacted their lives. And literally, like, I looked out and there were just people all across the audience crying, and people laughed and they cried and they cheered, and it was very, very cool. So we're looking to expand our ways to actually tell stories to honor Portland staff at this event going forward, because it was really awesome. So thank you. And many of you were at the Wabanaki Studies film premiere at the Portland Museum of Art on May 10th, but that was another really tremendous feel-good event that we were fortunate enough to be a partner in with the district and the museum. It was a chance to celebrate and thank all of the folks who've been working on that for the last, many years. And it was really extraordinary, the crowd that came. Over 40 Wabanaki tribal members came to the event. There was an excellent panel. So stay tuned, because it's all going to be in full implementation next year. And then finally, the foundation partnered with a list of folks up there on May 18th with an event called Portland Picks Up. So it was cleanup events at a range of different schools around the district, as well as a couple of non-school sites, and then a family field day at Payson Park. And there were about 150 folks who participated, and folks had a really good time. And then finally, I am not doing any long programmatic updates tonight. It's June and it's really hot, but I'm happy to answer questions. But I do always give some shout outs to donors. So I believe this is since our report in April. We've received 329 individual donations totaling $164,000. So that's donations made by people that include donations made at the Spring for Teachers event, donations to Rock Around the World that was, of course, run by Make It Happen, but we manage the finances for it and are passing that on to them. And then those funds that are listed up there. And then the next two slides, and I apologize for them being small. Oh, it's March, not April. Okay, so March 8th through when I ran this and provided it to Superintendent Scallon. These are the businesses or foundations who have given us grants. This is page 1 of 2 of those. So if you want to go to the next page. And those total $257,000 in business donations and grants from March until early June. And that's what I have to share for tonight, unless there are questions.
Questions from the board? Yeah, Board Member Figdor, go ahead.
Thank you so much, Andy, for this update and for your incredible work. I have a question on the co-curricular grants or support. Will that be open to students to apply for?
It's one of the things that we're debating, where I would like to have it be open to students if an advisor and or principal kind of signs off on the application. But we haven't firmed that up, but it's one of the questions we're considering, and I would like to see it happen.
And if so, I hope there's a way to get the information out to students, because that seems like, essential. But I can just say, as a parent of a student at Deering with 70, that, seeing 70 co-curriculars in action, for instance, my daughter is involved in a few where she's really leading the charge, and she has a formal advisor, but she's doing that work.
Yeah.
So what a great opportunity for students like that to be able to apply and not have to rely on a staff member to lead that work.
Thank you. I agree. I've actually, since I started, wanted to have a student grant process, and we haven't quite gotten there, but this feels like a way to dabble in it. We're going to have a little group that meets over the summer to try to answer some of these questions. And if any of you would like to join it, it's just going to be like a meeting where we talk it through. In addition to our regular grants committee folks, our celebrity guest who's going to join this committee is Malia Nally, and she's going to review grants with us in the fall. So she has a pretty good understanding still of how things run. But I would welcome any of you who are interested in joining us.
I'm just going to add on to that really quickly, which I just wonder if student board representatives might be interested in participating in the evaluation process. That could be cool. So I'm happy to help support if they're interested in doing that.
And Cheryl, just FYI, we had so many students apply to be on our board of directors this year, which is amazing. And I'm not quite sure why. Like, we had 9 Deering students apply for the one slot. Somebody was talking it up. And they all seemed great. And so the students we didn't offer it to, we actually offered them a possibility to review grants with us. So we may have a whole bunch of students already. I would certainly welcome the students on the board as well. But that was our thought, is that we would invite those students to join either the co-curriculars grant review or the regular staff grant reviews in the fall.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Vice Chair Bondo, go ahead.
Thank you, Andy. Thank you for everything you do. I have two little questions, two small. And the first one is on the summer innovation grants.
Mm-hmm.
On those 70 individuals, those are outside the PPS or?
No, they're all PPS employees.
Are they all PPS employees? Yeah.
And that program only funds them at a rate of $40 per hour to do like planning work and collaboration work. We don't buy supplies through those grants, but it's ed techs, it's teachers. I mean, it's anyone who's not working on the summer anyway, because they're already being paid.
All right. So I see on the end here, you have some unrestricted gifts. So can you just explain a little bit? Are you making those distribution on those unrestricted gifts, or if there is any specific requirement to access those gifts?
The unrestricted gifts?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, so we need some unrestricted gifts and other income like interest and money we have invested and so on to pay our staff and to like pay for postage and mailing and printing. So our basic administrative costs is a chunk of that. We also never raise enough externally to pay the about $100,000 we distribute in grants to staff in the year. So we use unrestricted gifts towards that. And then just sometimes if we have extra as a need arises, so for instance, this year, like when something arises, like buying the glasses for the eclipse, then we're like, oh, we should put $5,000 in to buy that, or whatever the case may be. So we do use some of those funds for our operating costs. But then, for any other, we don't do any programming that doesn't benefit students directly or indirectly via their families or their staff.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you.
And I just had one other question, if there were any updates on kind of the trends around the student and family crisis fund?
Yeah. So I did just hear yesterday that the $30,000 grant from the Ludke Foundation in Massachusetts we applied for was approved, which is wonderful because we were really low on funds for that program. So that I of course don't have a number right in front of me, but I think that means we've raised about 45,000 this year for that program. We've dispersed 60,000, or we will have by the end. Oh no, we've already met June. So that means that's another example of what we would use unrestricted funds for. We committed to spend 5,000 a month on that, whether or not we raise specific funds for it.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, I don't see anybody else, so thank you very much. We didn't put this on the formal agenda, but we have a report from a student. I think it's just because we didn't do it last time, we forgot to put it back on the agenda. But Student Representative McDonald is here and ready to go, so take it away.
Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. I hope that the beginning of this beautiful summer is treating everyone very well. First and foremost, happy Pride Month to everyone. June is such a colorful and joyful month for all of Portland. The students of Portland High School love celebrating the queer members of our community, and many attended the annual Portland Pride Parade, as well as many of you guys. As many of you know, the school year officially ended last week with our final exams. Congratulations to every PHS student and teacher, as we all finished very strong with a week of very challenging projects and tests. However, the school has felt quite empty for the past few weeks as our seniors graduated. Again, congratulations to another amazing year of graduates who we are proud to call Bulldogs. Prior to their graduation, we had a quite emotional yet exciting senior farewell at the school so that every student could say goodbye to the class of 2024. 100 students in this class were recognized with scholarships at the senior farewell, and another 74 received scholarships at a scholarship night earlier in May. I've been told that Project Graduation, another culminating event for the seniors, was also quite exciting. It took place at St. Joseph's College in Standish on the evening of June 5th, and the most memorable part was a hypnotist that was featured and made most of the class forget their first names and think that they were at a Renaissance fair, which was definitely an entertaining way to finish out their senior year. As for the students, this was a very impressive group of seniors, as we have many Bulldogs attending Ivy League schools next year, as well as many other impressive colleges, including the University of Pennsylvania, Princeton, Dartmouth, and Harvard. We are incredibly proud of every graduate as they follow their path to their future beyond Portland High School. Our sports teams also finished the year strong, with the track team getting third in both the boys and girls divisions at the state meet, and with the boys team breaking the state record for the distance medley relay at nationals. The lacrosse teams also had very successful seasons and already missed their seniors. Additionally, Sail Maine is sending a group of sailors to the Youth Nationals Regatta this coming weekend. As we transition into the summer, there are still many learning opportunities and programs that students will participate in. These include a plethora of summer internships and classes, like the Maine Health Clinical Healthcare Apprenticeship, Teen Mentors at the Root Cellar, the Young Writers and Leaders Summer Camp, volunteering at Maine Med, a summer science program at the Wells Preserve for multilingual students, and many, many more. Big shout out to Ms. Levinsky for organizing all of these opportunities to keep the Bulldogs involved with the community over the summer. PHS is also starting the Summer Credit Recovery Program in Math, Algebra 2, and Social Studies for students who need to complete more work to earn their unit of proficiency in these subjects. The Bulldogs are very excited for all of these summer opportunities and to have a chance to enjoy the sunshine. I thank everyone for a great school year and look forward to what next year will bring. This concludes my report. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Student Representative. Yes, let's clap. It's a clapping night. Does anybody have any questions about what's happening at PHS? Okay, sounds like a great end of year. Yeah, go ahead.
What are you doing this summer?
I'm coaching sailing.
All right.
Beautiful. All right, so we're going to move on to the report of the secretary. So we have the consideration and action to approve the meeting minutes of June 4th, 2024. Are there any corrections to those meeting minutes? Right, I see no hands on Zoom. I see no hands here in the room. So if there are no corrections, the minutes are approved as distributed. And then we have a heap of old business. So let me pull that up. So up first tonight, we have the amended resolution that we worked on last week. So the consideration and action to approve a resolution directing appointments committee to recruit and recommend a slate of community representatives to the pre-K through 8th school configuration and boundaries community advisory. Oh, am I in the wrong place? No. Sorry. Do I have a motion for this resolution? Thank you, Board Member Figdor. Is there a second? Thank you, Board Member Noor. Are there any questions from the board on this amended resolution? Okay. Any public comment? Just double check. Okay, I see no hands on Zoom, no hands here or no bodies here in the room. So I'm going to go ahead and close public comment. Is there any general discussion from the board? Go ahead.
I want to thank the chair for bringing this forward. I think this is a really important step. One way that I think about the challenge we face is that we are working to build an equitable school district on an inequitable base. And so to actually make the progress that we're seeking and to achieve the goals of our strategic plan, we need to first redistrict our boundaries so that we are distributing our students more equitably across demographics, and that we achieve greater. Our enrollment at different schools becomes more similar. There's been change even just in the years I've been on the board. There's been really quite significant shifts, and we haven't looked at our boundary lines in many years. So I just want to again thank the chair, recognize the importance of this work. I really do think it's fundamental to our then being able to move forward and achieve more progress as we work to meet all the goals in our strategic plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Board Member Figdor. And just wanted to also recognize Board Member Figdor, Board Member Grant for working with myself and Deputy Superintendent Townsend on really narrowing the focus of this resolution so that it really is focused on the attendance boundaries. And just as a reminder to folks, that will be the outcome of this committee will be to provide a series of recommendations on those attendance boundaries. And kind of like if other things come up in their work, they're welcome to make those recommendations as well. So we see this as like Board Member Figdor said, kind of like a foundational piece of work that then we can continue to build on and also sync up with the strategic plan. Any other discussion from the board? Yes, Board Member Opperman.
I'm pleased this has come forward. I think looking at our boundaries is a beginning. I think there are many things that we need to consider as we go in and create a high school of the future, a middle school of the future, and an equitable setup for academics and social development. So here.
Thank you, Board Member Opperman. Any other questions? Did I see you going for your microphone, Deputy Superintendent? Was that just a call roll? Okay, perfect. Then Deputy Superintendent, please go ahead and call the roll.
Member Ali,
Yes.
Vice Chair Bonda,
Yes.
Member Bryden.
Yes.
Member Figdor,
Yes.
Member Grant,
Yes.
Member Noor, Member Opperman,
Yes.
Student Representative Hayden,
Yes.
Student Representative Kintiba,
Yes.
Student Representative McDonald,
Yes.
and Chair Lentz.
Yes, so the resolution passes unanimously with the students voting with the majority of the board. Congratulations all for passing that resolution. And just as a reminder, the next step will be getting the appointments committee together, and I will lead that to move the process forward. Up next, we have the consideration and action to approve changes to policy JICD, academic honesty. Do I have a motion for these changes to policy JICD? Thank you, Vice Chair Bondo. Is there a second? Thank you, Board Member Opperman. Appreciated all of that was like almost unanimous over there. Okay, so we're going to give that to, did I say Board Member Opperman? That's the second. Any questions from the board? Okay. Any public comment? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to close public comment. Any general discussion from the board? Okay, seeing none, then by roll call vote, please indicate whether you are in favor of the consideration and action to approve changes to policy JICD, academic honesty. Deputy Superintendent, will you please call the roll?
Member Ali,
Yes.
Vice Chair Bondo,
Yes.
Member Bryden,
Yes.
Member Figdor,
Yes.
Member Grant,
Yes.
Member Noor, Member Opperman,
Yes.
Student Representative Hayden,
Yes.
Student Representative Kintiba,
Yes.
Student Representative McDonald,
Yes.
and Chair Lentz.
Yes, so the motion passes unanimously with the students voting with the majority. Up next, we have the consideration and action to approve changes to policy IJNDB, student use of school-issued computers, devices, and the internet, and policy IJNDB-R, student computer device and internet use rules. Do I have a motion for these policies? Thank you, Board Member Bryden, and a second, Board Member Figdor. Any questions from the board on these policies? Okay, seeing none. Is there any public comment? I'm going to go ahead and close public comment. Any general discussion from the board? All right, then by roll call vote, please indicate whether you are in favor of the consideration and action to approve changes to policy IJNDB, student use of school-issued computers, devices, and the internet, and policy IJNDB-R, student computer device and internet use rules. Deputy Superintendent, will you please call the roll? A lot of words.
Thank you. Member Ali,
Yes.
Vice Chair Bondo,
Yes.
Member Bryden,
Yes.
Member Figdor,
Yes.
Member Grant,
Yes.
Member Noor, Member Opperman,
Yes.
Student Representative Hayden,
Yes.
Student Representative Kintiba,
Yes.
Student Representative McDonald,
Yes.
and Chair Lentz.
Yes. So that motion passes unanimously with students voting with the majority. Next up, we have consideration and action to approve changes to policy GCSA, employee use of school-issued computers and devices and the internet, and policy GCSA-R, employee computer device and internet use rules. Do I have a motion for this set of policies? Thank you, Board Member Opperman. Second, Board Member Bryden. Any questions from the board? Seeing none, I'm going to go ahead and open public comment. Close public comment. Any general discussion from the board? Board Member Opperman.
I just want to bring up the fact that these policies that we're presenting and passing so quickly actually have been discussed at great length in committee. So
Yes,
just
in
to-
committee, and we also workshopped them at
And
the
workshopped
last
them,
board
so
member. Thank
just
you.
to make sure.
Thank you for bringing that up. Any other discussion from the board? All right, then seeing none, then by roll call vote, please indicate whether you are in favor of the consideration and action to approve changes to policy GCSA, employee use of school-issued computers, devices, and the internet, and policy GCSA-R, employee computer device and internet use rules. Deputy Superintendent, will you please call the roll?
Member Ali,
Yes.
Vice Chair Bondo,
Yes.
Member Bryden,
Yes.
Member Figdor,
Yes.
Member Grant,
Yes.
Member Noor, Member Opperman,
Yes.
Student Representative Hayden,
Yes.
Student Representative Kintiba,
Yes.
Student Representative McDonald,
Yes.
and Chair Lentz.
Yes, so the motion passes unanimously with students voting with the majority. Up next, we have the consideration and action to approve changes to policy ACAA, harassment, discrimination, and sexual harassment of students. Do I have a motion for the consideration action of this policy? Thank you, Board Member Figdor. Is there a second? Thank you, Board Member Grant. Are there any questions from the board? Seeing no questions, I'll move to public comment. Are there any public comment? I'm going to close public comment. Is there any general discussion from the board? Board Member Figdor?
I just want to note that last week, I believe, Federal Appeals Court put the new federal rules on hold for 4 states in the South after a lawsuit was brought, which to me brought home the importance of our continuing to maintain our district policy of doing everything we can to protect students and having actually a tighter regime in some places for protecting students from discrimination and harassment. And I just want to take the moment as well to recognize Deputy Superintendent Townsend for his work on this policy over many, many years. Probably a seminal piece of your work in really overhauling this policy back in, Aaron will remind me, 2001.
Not
20
quite that long ago, but
2021.
well, yeah, 2019 into the pandemic
Into-
and
Yes.
fall of 2020. Yeah.
Yes, so it was a long process to rewrite this policy and then to implement it, which has evolved and continues to be work each and every day, I know. And now we're at the point where the federal rules were tightened, which is extraordinary. But we know that we can't count on that in our continued work to protect our students. So just wanted to, seeing that lawsuit really underscored for me the need to do everything we can, which I think we've done in this policy to protect our students. So thank you, Deputy Superintendent Townsend, and to the board for keeping our policy in place.
Thank you, Board Member Figdor. I wanted to bring up a friendly amendment that just came up in the last couple of days, which is last week, the New York Times covered a new trend in harassment, which is using AI technology to create nudes of people and then distribute them. So I talked to Tyler about if there was any language we needed to include in the policy to get ahead of that, should that trend start to be more prevalent here, to just make sure we're protecting students in that capacity. So Tyler suggested that we add in Section 3, letter N, that we would add the phrase including AI generated or other digitally altered representations that replicate an individual's image, voice, or likeness. And again, I think it speaks to the strength of our policy. A lot of the places that were interviewed by the Times, didn't even know what to do really about this because they didn't have the foundation that we do. So I think just adding that sentence will protect us from this new category of harassment. Yes, Board Member Noor.
Could you repeat what we're adding?
Yeah. And Henry, I think we might have 2 mics that aren't working. Board Member Bryden, can you try your mic too?
Hello.
We have 2 mics. Board Member Noor and Board Member Bryden do not have mics. But I'm happy to repeat. I think I heard your question. You just wanted to repeat the language. The language would be added in Section 3, letter N. It would be at the end of that sentence, including AI generated or other digitally altered representations that replicate an individual's image, voice, or likeness. So it would be added to that electronic communications segment. That is my friendly amendment. Okay. Any other discussion from the board on that? Okay. See, let me just double check for hands. All right. Then by roll call vote, please indicate whether you are in favor of this consideration and action to approve changes to policy ACAA harassment, discrimination, and sexual harassment of students with the included friendly amendment. Deputy Superintendent, will you please call the roll?
Member Ali,
Yes.
Vice Chair Bondo,
Yes.
Member Bryden,
Yes.
Member Figdor,
Yes.
Member Grant,
Yes.
Member Noor,
Yes.
Member Opperman,
Yes.
Student Representative Hayden,
Yes.
Student Representative Kintiba,
Yes.
and Student Representative McDonald,
Yes.
and Chair Lentz.
Yes, so that motion passes unanimously with the students voting with the majority. And one more policy to look at tonight. We have the consideration and action to approve changes to policy ACAB, harassment, discrimination, and sexual harassment of school employees. Do I have a motion to bring this policy forward? Thank you, Vice Chair Bondo. Do I have a second? Thank you, Board Member Bryden. Are there any questions from the board? Board Member Ali?
Would we add the same amendments to the teacher? Okay.
We are. It's going to be a friendly amendment to a slightly different letter and section, but I'll get there when we get to discussion.
Okay.
Yeah. Any other questions from the board? Okay, seeing none. Any public comment? Beautiful. So any general discussion from the board? This is where I would like to introduce a friendly amendment of the same language to section 3, letter M, as in monkey. And the language, just as a reminder, is including AI generated or other digitally altered representations that replicate an individual's image, voice, or likeness. Any other board discussion? Okay, seeing none, then by roll call vote, please indicate whether you are in favor of the consideration and action to approve changes to policy ACAB, harassment, discrimination, and sexual harassment of school employees with the friendly amendment in section 3, letter M. Deputy Superintendent, will you please call the roll?
Member Ali,
Yes.
Vice Chair Bondo,
Yes.
Member Bryden,
Yes.
Member Figdor,
Yes.
Member Grant,
Yes.
Member Noor,
Yes.
Member Opperman,
Yes.
Student Representative Hayden,
Yes.
Student Representative Kintiba,
Yes.
Student Representative McDonald,
Yes.
and Chair Lentz.
Yes, so the motion passes unanimously with the students voting with the majority. I know we're moving on to the strategic plan next, but I just again want to recognize the Policy and Curriculum Committee for moving through a tremendous amount of work, and for Deputy Superintendent Townsend for leading that work. I think when we set out the agenda for this school year, we thought we would never get there, but we have, and it just is really positioning us to be able to do some great work next year. So thank you to all involved.
And if I can, I have one more set of policies coming on Thursday for Policy and Curriculum Committee next Tuesday night.
Just kidding. So I'll do the thank you one more time at some point. But thank you all to those involved. So up next, we have our consideration and action to approve the strategic plan. Do I have a motion for the consideration and action to approve the strategic plan? Thank you, Board Member Opperman. Board Member Noor, with the second, are there any questions from the board on the strategic plan? Yeah, go ahead, Board Member Figdor.
I have questions about 5.3 and specifically the measures that we're using to evaluate our progress towards 5.3. We've been in touch with the superintendent a little bit about this, but I know this is a new initiative that we added at the last minute. And I'm concerned that we're not measuring all parts of it. It's the one about developing a multi-year sustainable budget and an equitable budget. And right now the sole measure we have is around meeting the goal in our budget to to recover $300,000 from Maine care reimbursements. And that's just such a drop in the bucket in terms of a sustainable budget. So I just wanted to open up the conversation to see if we could talk about both additional measures that would get at financial sustainability and multi-year, over time, as well as the equitable budgeting piece.
Would it be possible to get that bullet up on the screen just so everybody can read which one we're talking about? It's also the one that's in the resolution, but the having the language and the measures, the strategies, I forget the adjectives. Yeah, initiative measures. So we'll get that up. And Board Member Figdor, I know that you had had some other suggestions that you were maybe thinking about. Would you want to bring those kind of to the floor as part of this discussion, or do you want to just hear kind of what other people are thinking?
Well, maybe I can toss it over to the superintendent. I had made some suggestions, but I think the superintendent wasn't had questions whether they would actually in the end measure what we're looking for. So I'm happy to bring those forward, but what I want here is to find measures that are workable. So I think rather than bringing forward what I proposed, I'd love to hear from the superintendent.
Okay, perfect. I'm both asking you to share your screen and talk at the same time, so we'll just give you a little bit of grace while you get settled.
Yeah, that's not very helpful in terms of visibility, in terms of being able to read. I'm pulling up there. 5.3, which you can read, is design and implement a sustainable multi-year financial model that enables PPS to successfully implement the strategic plan and equitably allocate resources across the district. And the proposed measure, the only one of it there that started there was the $300,000 in Maine care reimbursement. The challenge here is that we wanted to make sure sort of two things. So one is the purpose of these measures at this point, right? There are two sets of measures that we're talking about. We're not going to get into the weight analogy again. Please don't let me go down that path. Is that the mission measures, right? That's the 5 years. That's where we want to go. And that's where we want to get to. That's really what we're holding ourselves accountable for as a collective and as a team of 10 and as a district. That's where we're getting to. The initiative measures are what we're using to say, are we on track with this initiative? And within any initiative, right, they go out across 5 years. And so there's parts of it that are within the first year, and then they may adjust within years 2, 3, 4, and 5. And so here, I want to make sure that we're careful that we don't create unintended actions within our measures. And so because this was a last add one, I don't think we've landed on one yet that is measurable, that isn't just process-based, right? So we could put in here something like have another 5-year financial model. It feels measurable, but it's not necessarily measurable. We could put in something in Board Member Figdor had some really helpful starting spots, but I'd want to look at what's the current, right? So for example, one of them that we just haven't had the chance to do the analysis of yet is around staffing for social workers, as an example, or other support staff at Title I schools versus non-Title schools. So one of the interesting pieces of that the district could make a decision, I'm not suggesting this, but could come up, is right now the district has made a decision that Title I funds are only used at elementary schools. That's not a rule or a requirement. That's a district decision. That could change in the future, right? There could be a decision to adjust it to middle schools or another piece, right? So I don't want to bind us in some way. It's also the case that where we have breathe programs don't always align with where there's title funds, but we have a social worker assigned to breathe programs. And so it artificially inflates the number of social workers in schools based on where there's breathe programs. And so I just want to like make sure that we don't rush to have an initiative measure here that creates an artificial sense. And so I don't want to slow us down in terms of starting this process, but I think we could look at the action steps and we could know what the intention is that we're trying to get here, which is that we want to make sure that we have a balanced budget. We want to make sure that we have a transparent process for doing title funds that engages our community. And we've talked about how we want to do that. And so we can also look at the action steps that we name within this process as a way to get at it. And so I just wonder if in some cases, and in this case, if pushing to getting a measure creates an artificial sense. And so that's why I want to be careful of here. And so that's why I raised the question, and whether in this case we should go slower to push for this measure. And so that's my question, and why I just cautioned us to not rush to name a piece. One of the things that will come up in the redistricting is around what's the right answer for middle schools, bless you, and how should we approach that? It could be that one of the right answers is that we look at class size. It could be that there's some reasons for why class size may vary, or why the number of cohorts in a middle school may vary based on specialized program or that type of. And so I want to make sure that before we put a measure here that feels binding, that we take the time to do it. And I'm interested in like engaging in that. And so if we talk about what's the spirit on which we want to make sure that we're hitting, that we don't lock ourselves in on this.
Could I ask 2 clarifying questions? Then I'll come to you, Board Member Opperman. This is going to be renewed on an annual basis or evaluated and could be changed in a year, because also and the likelihood that we'll get more than $300,000 is probably good. And so to have that, like, there's a cadence to which, as we have more information and we move further in the design phase, we'll get more information and we could add more particulars to this.
I expect that we're looking at this as a regular ongoing piece. On the question of the $300,000, I'm not going to commit to that.
Yeah, you don't have to, I will, it's okay. Yeah.
On the secondary piece though, right, is all of these measures are designed to be as a checkpoint of where we would say, does this feel like we're on track? And should we adjust, or do we need to dig in further? Right? They're not actually the measures on which we're holding ourselves accountable. Those are the mission measures. These are the checkpoints that staff are using to say, are we meeting this? Are we making progress towards this? And so, right, if you look at the one above it, right, it is about defining our roles in a central office, right? There, we actually want to make sure that leadership team members are clear on it. Because if they're not clear, we're not making progress, right? That's where we're using that as a checkpoint. But if we actually just got there and we said, look, we're at 70%, that doesn't necessarily mean we're actually meeting the mark, because our mission measures are what we're actually holding ourselves accountable to. And so that's where I just want to like be careful of. Yeah. We don't create this false accountability to progress measures.
Yeah. Board Member Opperman, and then we'll come back to Board Member Figdor.
Thank you, Chair. You started my question on timing of modification of the whole plan and any piece of that plan. Understanding that there could be concerns coming up within 6 months on what our next budget for the first year is going to involve, the one next after this 25, 26. My question is whether or not we can look at what comes out of the committee for districting and then truly go through an evaluation. I don't know which committee, policy or finance or what, to look at how things are distributed within the district based on, and then create a statement of what we think should be happening ongoing. My question is, can we modify 5.3 in November?
Superintendent, do you want to respond to that before we go to Board Member Figdor?
Yeah, I mean, again, right? So we think about this, right? I would anticipate that there are going to be modifications as we go through this. It's why it's designed to be a living document. It's designed to be the guide on which we work. It's the reason that when we met with leadership today, we talked about the fact that here are the 5-year measures on which we're going. These are the outcome measures on which we as a district want to get to, and why we only looked at the initiatives in year 1. Because we know that there will be some adjustment. It doesn't mean that the whole plan is written on tissue paper, right? In fact, we think that most of it will be there. And if we go through a redistricting process, right, some of this will adjust, right? Because if we talk about shifting where students are and boundaries, right, that will adjust 5.3. Right, in terms of how we think about that.
I thought you were done. Board Member Figdor, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I thought Board Member Opperman was taking this in a little bit of a different direction to incorporate the for the board to, something to add something here that is in fact more process oriented, because we're not able to come up with something else that is about the board takes action on the recommendations of the committee.
That makes a ton of sense.
And that informs the superintendent's FY26 budget. So it's process oriented, but it's something. I don't feel, I mean, just to be forthright, I don't feel comfortable with 5.3. Like, we need to be able to vote on the strategic plan as it exists right now. And right now, this sole measure about Medicare reimbursement, and I think there's a huge potential. We could, in the future, receive far more, and we have in the past, far more than $300,000, and that will help on our budget. But it's a tiny drop in our budget, and so it doesn't get us in the short term to a sustainable multi-year financial model. But the pieces that can contribute as well are adjusting our boundaries, and that also gets at the equitable allocation of resources, or helps get at it. So I think my recommendation, if we can't come up with precise measures, is a process oriented measure here.
Board Member Bryden, go ahead.
Thank you. Oh, good. My microphone's working.
Thanks,
That's great. Okay. Thank you, Chair. So as sort of a grounding confirmation, so that I fully understand, and so that, the community does as well as we're talking about this, I want to make sure that I'm understanding correctly that these proposed measures are intended to be sort of like a spot check. So, for example, if we're going to be, 4.1, a strong and inclusive staff culture is huge. And if those 2 proposed measures are successful, but otherwise not, we're not going to consider that a success, correct? So it's just like a sort of a representative, here's something to look at and sort of use that to extrapolate. Is that correct?
Yeah, the language we use is they're leading measures.
Right.
They're not the end measure on which we are going for.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, what we're going for is the mission measures.
Mm-hmm.
We're going for our students achieving better on assessments. Are they graduating at a higher rate? Are they reporting that they feel more of a sense of belonging at school? And we believe that these initiatives lead to that. And we believe that these measures are a sign that we're implementing it and that they're having a positive impact.
Thank you. So thank you for clarifying. So based on that clarification, I think that I would caution us against loading up 5.3 with a lot of measurements. A sustainable multi-year financial model is a huge topic. And there's so many things that even just off the top of my head, I'm thinking, and this and this and this, like so many things that we could put in that bucket. And I think that my perspective is that right now it makes sense to have one spot check initiative measure. And then as the strategic plan evolves, it makes sense to look at, okay, and then what can we bring in to continue to sort of increase the scope and complexity of what we're looking at for that. Thank you.
Board Member Opperman, go ahead.
I guess in all of this discussion, the word I'm looking at is sustainable. And yes, getting $300,000 in Maine Care might be a piece of that. But what do we mean that we are looking, and this again is the process piece, I suppose, but are we asking for Maine Care is asking for money outside of the district? And is that what our intent is with sustainability, that we go beyond taxes, wherever the money is going for? So I guess that's kind of why I don't, any statement, any kind of measure right there is, of any, is incomplete or just small at this point. Perhaps a 5.3 in the second year must become more specific, and I would hope that would be happening. So I'm not saying that we have to add anything here, but I honestly think that there has to be the thought process of how we are going to direct our sustainability. Where are we? I mean, the comment came up time and time again in discussion around the community is we can't sustain increased taxes. This is impossible. How are we going to make it sustainable in that aspect of income? So I guess what we're looking at here is a piece of income, and it's just for 1 year.
Board Member Victor, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, we really do get at that with at sustainability with the resolution we just passed, which is looking at boundaries, including right-sizing the middle schools. So we have too many middle school slots and not enough kids. So if we adjust the model, there's opportunities to better serve our kids and for it to be less expensive, to have it be less expensive. So that is getting at sustainability. So we're getting there. We have, we've talked about other measures that can reduce the cost of education in Portland while maintaining our focus on equity and meeting our students' needs, like moving middle school students to Metro, which we know we spend a huge amount on transportation, and that is in the following year of our strategic plan. So we're getting there. We have measures in place. We have a plan that's laid out for us. The question before us is, how are we going to measure it? And so I think I would like to make a friendly amendment, such as I suggested earlier, for the board to act on the recommendations from the advisory committee and for those to be incorporated into the superintendent's FY26 budget.
Superintendent, go ahead.
You want it to be included in the strategic plan, right, as an action step.
In 5.3.
In 5.3.
Yeah, but I don't see where you say, like, if I look at the action steps, I don't see.
You don't see them. Because the reason is like we're trying to make sure that we are all sort of like sitting at the right level. And so for the action steps, we have the initiative leads and then the team really owning the action steps. And so we're keeping the board sort of at the governance level, and then we could engage in that conversation to say, let's have that conversation. What I was just saying in terms of like the piece is what I hear. I just want to be clear on this is, I think, first off, the $300,000 in Maine Care, the fact that it's a bullet there is because we wanted to memorialize the fact that it was part of the budget and just do it. We didn't mean for that to be how do you get to sustainability? It was like that. But what I hear you, just so I can have it, is what you're proposing is to put a bullet here as a measure that the board will act on.
Because right now,
right? The board will act on the recommendation, because at the end of the day, it's going to be the board, that the board will act on the special committee's recommendation.
Yes. Because right now, if we hit the $300,000, it in my mind doesn't get to either the multi-year sustainable financial model, nor does it get to the equitably allocate resources. So I'm glad it's there. I believe that it has potential in the future, but I would, I think more, we need something more to actually be able to measure success.
I'm getting a couple other questions. We're going to go around. Board Member Bryden and then Student Representative McDonald.
Thank you, Chair. I don't know what constitutes friendly and not friendly amendments, but
With malintention.
Fine. Okay, cool. But my concern with adding to 5.3 something that is going to be a board action, it seems it doesn't line up with the rest of the document because this is all percentage of staff, and leadership team members, and so I think that we can hold ourselves accountable to taking action on that and moving the ball forward without putting it on this document. And if there are other ways to do that, that's fine. But I think I would prefer to see the document stay structured and aligned the way it is rather than staff, leadership, and then board just in one spot. To me, that seems a little incongruous.
Student Representative McDonald.
If you guys want to continue the conversation on this, mine is kind of on something different. So if there's more discussion on this specific thing, then
okay,
I don't want to interrupt that.
Thank you for that. Let me see, and then I'll circle back to you. Is that a hand, Board Member Grant? Go ahead.
Yeah, well, I certainly appreciate what Member Figdor is doing, and I agree that those recommendations are likely to take hold. I would not commit this board to a result that's going to be created by another body at another time. I don't think that's appropriate for the strategic plan. So, and again, I see you shaking your head, so maybe I'm putting words in your mouth, and I apologize if I am.
I mean, just to clarify it, and I'm sorry to interrupt you, but it's just acting on. I'm not saying we accept the recommendation. It's just taking action, after the committee submits their recommendations. But I'm hearing that that's, not necessarily where people want to go. I just do want to highlight that this measure, unlike all the other initiatives, this measure does not actually get at what we're stating we're going to do. So I find that as problematic. And
I mean, I'll re-interrupt, and I just simply disagree with that this measure, if we hit this measure, to me, it is an indication that this long-range 5-year goal is on its way to being successful. It's not the only thing. There'll be many, many others, but to me, it's just one that's picked out from a lot of other options. And it would be a good indication if we go from $0 to $300,000 or whatever it is. That tells me that what we're doing is implementing good systems. So, I mean, you can tell by my tone, I'm in favor of keeping things the way they are in 5.3 while still appreciating the point. I'm not disagreeing with the philosophy that you're trying to project. I'm just saying that it's a little bit apples and oranges right now with what we're doing with the strategic plan example, to me.
Okay. Other questions? And then when we get to discussion, I'll bring it back to you, Emily, if you would like to bring an amendment forward at that point. Student Representative McDonald.
Thank you. My question is mainly about 3.1, and it's kind of similar to what Board Member Bryden was saying. I feel like getting student opinions and perspectives should be kind of the first priority for that one, and maybe should be included in some of the other ones as well, because I'm not really seeing that highlighted on here. And I think that that's really important. So I just kind of wanted to throw that out there. And just if you have,
Thank you, Student Representative McDonald. Would you like to respond to that, Superintendent?
Yeah, so actually student perspective helped a lot in the creation of the strategic plan. So there was a ton of student voice that went into the first half of this that highlighted the fact that we needed to have conversations around school climate, and in particular around why there's a large number of students that are chronically absent at the high school level. And so it got to this sense of belonging and why that is named as a mission measure at the front end of the document. And so it was called out there. And it was called out as also why one of the focus strategies is around advisory, is around those pieces. And so you don't see it here named, but when you actually look at the steps and the actions that are taken, it comes out of those conversations.
So it is highlighted in like measuring if these goals are being met.
Yeah. So one of the, like, if we go back to the mission measure, right? One of the mission measures there is the percent of students reporting that they have an adult that they can connect with at school
Yeah.
for help. That came out of a huge organizational diagnostic that happened in the fall that included not just focus groups with students, but also surveys with students that happened both last year as well as this year to get student perspective at individual schools as well as across the district to capture their voice.
Why is that not down there in like the how they're measuring it?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So what we didn't want to do is we didn't want to repeat the measures. And so if we already had it captured in a mission measure, we're like sort of like shadow tracking it as well. But then we wanted to have additional measures that we are capturing in it. And so if you look at this piece here, there are a couple of measures that go with 3.1 that are also captured here. So percent of students reporting that they have an adult and chronically absent. And then if we scroll down here to 3.1, it says here mission measures are also tracking chronically absent and students that have a adult. And so it's there.
Okay.
We just didn't put the bullet in because we're also tracking it there.
Okay. So that is going to be upheld though as a tracking measure.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
It's sort of
Thank
like
you.
the mission measures are the master. They're the 5-year gold star.
Yeah.
The other two here, which is about overall school climate score and then reduction in suspensions, is the sub goals.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Yeah, Board Member Victor?
I continue to be interested in just how we're going to ensure that the full strategic plan is available when we roll it out to the public and then fully available to the board. Like, is this meeting the place, board docs where the documents live? And can the board also see the action steps? I know that I would like to see those, even if that's not the level at which we're engaging.
So, Grace, do you want to talk a little bit here in a second about the communications plan and the rollout? We have reached out to a member of the Foundations Board who does strategic planning. It's just been a busy time of the year with the end of the year. And so we are going to engage them in terms of helping us with our communications and rollout around the strategic plan. And so Grace can talk a little bit more about that. I do think we want to be careful. And so happy to engage the board around what's the right level. But we do want to be careful about what's the role of the board and what we talked about in terms of governance and around holding us accountable. And then versus the day-to-day actions and making sure that we're sort of like finding that right balance. And so happy to sit down and look at what are the action steps. We do have actions plans that are aligned with each of these initiatives within year one. They're also the types of things that do adjust. We talk about it sort of in that idea of agile pursuit, right? Because we're going to be looking at these measures, seeing how we're performing relative to it and adjusting. And so I don't want to create this false sense that it's typed up, it's written in pen, and it doesn't adjust. And I want staff to feel comfortable, right, that they're working on a team and things do adjust. And it does change a dynamic when it goes from a team and meeting to have that to all of a sudden it sits at the board level. And so I do want to be careful about the board's role around governance and holding the superintendent accountable versus digging in on the action plans.
I hear that, and I don't think that there's a desire to kind of dig in at that level on behalf of the board, but I do think it's a transparency issue, and we're approving a plan. We should see the full plan.
Board Member Upperman? And then Beck, or do you want Grace to speak to that now?
Do you want to just talk a little bit about the communications and what's going on in terms of rollout on the website and engagement?
So this is something that we have talked about in the steering committee when we were developing the plan. If you look at this plan, it's really a challenge for lay people to understand the jargon around this and thinking about the complexity of our audience and the language access. So we are, and it's also a conversation with Attuned and with our executive committee in the cabinet looking at this. So we are engaging a marketing folks to figure out, much like what we did with Portland Promise, when we put all of these comprehensive strategies together and then break it down into a digestible graphics, digestible poster, a video that came with that. So we're engaging with a lot of experts in the field related to communication and marketing and promotion to help us in distilling the essence of the work and what does that mean and what for the public to understand the goals of this strategic plan.
Thank you very much. I think that's great context and is going to continue to develop.
It is, and actually Attuned has given us some examples of work from other districts in terms of the work that they have done to, from the big to the narrow, that is accessible to all of us.
Mike?
Thank you. Board Member Opperman, go ahead.
I guess my concern is that ultimately we're on the governance level of this, and yet we're the individuals who will have questions from the community about all of this. And at what, and I guess like, not only is it, making it clear that we are progressing somewhere, and how are we progressing, and what will we expect to see next year? I mean, there's that kind of question has come up already. Mm-hmm. And my concern is in all of this that, as representatives, we have enough information to show and share. So
I do believe, Superintendent and myself have been working on the calendar for next year, and that will include like a cadence of updates. So within these documents that you got today, and then you will have, we're hoping by August that we have that runway for the next year. So what information is coming when, so that you can predict when you will have information to be able to distill to the community. I feel really confident that as a board, we're going to get the information we need to be able to communicate to the community about what's happening, where we're seeing progress, where we have challenges. And I think we're going to see that both like at the board governance level and like in the packaged ways that Dr. Venezuela is talking about, like the community message and market around the strategic plan. Would you add anything to that?
Can I just add one piece? Yes, I think we went from sort of the 20,000 feet of the pillars, right? So the 5 pillars of equity, academic achievement, whole student, people, and systems, to like right now we're in like the very like minutia weeds that doesn't like translate to what does it mean for a student in a classroom as we talk about Maine care or we talk about those pieces. And so we can lift it back up to really talk about what does it mean for a student next year. And so that's where we need to sort of like recalibrate back to when it comes to that communication plan. I think that's what Grace was talking about, is how do we take it and say, all right, what does this mean for your child next year? Or in 3 years. I mean, exactly. And so I think that that's the piece where we need to find the right balance. And that's why I think we also talk about like, what's the right level to have the conversation here, where you're able to hold us, right? Us as a collective of 10 accountable for moving the district forward, us as a leadership team in the district accountable to make sure that the superintendent and the cabinet are moving things forward, and so that the community knows, what does it mean for my child? And I think that that's where we need to change the conversation as we go from where we're at today in this conversation to over the next couple of months.
Right. I'm going to move us to public comment. Okay, I see no one here in the room. I see no Zoom hands, so I'm going to go ahead and close public comment. And now is the time for discussion and any amendment that would like to come forward. You're welcome to bring forward. Or any other board discussion. Okay, seeing none, then by roll call vote, please indicate whether you are in favor of the consideration and action to approve the strategic plan. Deputy Superintendent, will you please call the roll?
Member Ali,
Yes.
Vice Chair Bondo,
Yes.
Member Figdor,
Yes.
Member Grant,
Yes. Yes.
Member Noor,
Yes.
Member Opperman,
Yes.
Student Representative Hayden,
I think we
okay,
lost.
Student Representative Kintiba,
Yes.
Student Representative McDonald,
Yes.
and Chair Lentz.
Yes, so
I didn't get to vote. Yes.
Oh, I apologize. I was like off on my tracking. I knew, I'm
100
sorry.
degrees in here, it's fine.
Member Bryden.
So the strategic plan passes unanimously with the students voting with the majority. Beautiful. And up next, we have some new business. So we have the consideration and action to approve the 24-25 Board of Education meeting calendar. Superintendent, would you like to speak to this at all?
Yes, just wanted to make sure that before we left for the summer or before folks took a well-deserved break, that we had the calendar in front of you with the dates. What you'll see on here is the board meetings following the typical schedule that we have in terms of the first Tuesday, the third Tuesday, and then the curriculum policy, the finance, public affairs, and then the special redistricting committee that was approved today. What you see in red is highlighting where we have adjusted from the first and third or other, just because of holidays. And so just naming that there. We do have an asterisk. Board member Figdor in feedback requested to move the retreat from September 21st to September 28th. We just didn't update it yet, just waiting to get feedback to see if anybody else, if that caused a domino effect, and just didn't want to adjust, but happy to make that adjustment here tonight if that is fine with everybody. And so that is what you see here.
Board member Bryden?
Thank you, Chair. I put in the feedback document that the Finance, Operations, and Personnel Committee meetings are not on the second Thursday. They're on the second Monday at
Great.
4:30. So,
Thank you for that.
yeah.
And what date did we use there?
So it's the 1, 2, 3, it's the fourth column of actual data, at least. So I have the board docs version up, and it says Finance, Operations, HR, second Thursday at 5, but in actuality, it needs to be the second Monday at 4:30 p.m.
And are the dates that are showing there
Our Thursday.
are Thursday or Monday?
They're Thursdays.
They're Thursdays.
Thursdays.
I actually thought that that was a proposal, and I thought that was good because it aligns it more to the rest of the schedule. I do want to flag that 4:30 starts are tough for those of us, for some of us with work schedules. I know that for me to get out of work at 4:30 is not something I consistently can do, and members of the public who want to participate might be in the same place.
So historically, part of the reason why the meetings are at 4:30 has been to sort of balance. There's no good time, that works for everybody in the community. Some folks can do 4:30, some folks can't do 5. Some, it's all over the board. But I'm bumped board. Anyway, so I think it might have been a timing issue of the feedback document. Not, I may have put the feedback on the feedback document too late. I don't know, but that's something that I had raised.
So I think the good news is this is the first read. So there's plenty of time for amendment. So it sounds like potentially you could reach out to the finance committee and have a conversation about the timing to confirm whatever your preferences are and make sure it still works for your committee and those set of dates. And then superintendent, we can, can we circulate a draft of that by sometime before August? Okay.
Happy to.
Perfect. Perfect. Were there any other pieces of feedback about this calendar? So I'm hearing the difference of the retreat dates, the finance operation dates, any other feedback on the calendar? I also would prefer a 9/28. I'm going to be out of town for the 9/21 date. So the 9/28 works for me better for the retreat. Any other feedback? Okay. Great.
So just to be clear, next steps on this is Member Bryden is going to circulate feedback on finance to get feedback from members, or just want to be clear on sort of next step on that.
Yes.
Great. And then just locking this in, recognizing it's a full day. Is there anybody who objects to 9/28? Yeah.
As of now, with the information you have in your life, are there any objections? Okay, so mark it down.
Great.
9/28. Okay. Again, there's still time for feedback. So if you recognize something after you leave this space, feel free to reach out to the superintendent or myself and we can make adjustments as needed. Okay, so I'm going to move to our last piece of new business, which is a consideration and action to approve Aaron Townsend a consulting contract. Just a little bit of context on this, and then I'm happy to turn it over to superintendent. So we, as a board, don't usually approve consulting contracts in general or things like this, but because this is kind of a unique move for deputy superintendent and just a commitment to transparency, just wanted to make sure that the cost was there, the scope of work was there, because it is so closely aligned with our strategic plan. So wanted to, that's my context for bringing this to the board in this way. And superintendent, I don't know if there's anything you would add.
Yeah, so this is just truly in the spirit of transparency and just making sure that there's public scrutiny on this. There is 3 buckets of work that Aaron is going to support us with over the next year. One of them is starting, well, I mean, all of them really are starting already, but within the work and the pay that he's already doing as part of the deputy superintendent. One of them is to support summer school this summer, which is a big lift. The second is around the High School for the Future work. And so in the budget that was approved this year, there was $50,000 to support the application work that happens there. And so a subset of that $50,000, about half of the money that is allocated here within this consulting contract would be for Aaron to support in the writing of that application. Writing of that application is a significant lift. And so there's a need for outside capacity. We originally asked for $50,000 within the budget. We're fortunate in this case to have capacity where somebody knows the district and so is able to support in that. And so that is part of it. And then second, the district in its budget allocated $100,000 as part of the redistricting. Part of that work is for project management. It will also require that there are additional outside expertise in terms of individuals that help with city planning, as well as other demographers that can help us forecast out so that we're able to do this for the long term. And so Aaron would pick up the project management piece of this. And so again, it would be a small subset of the $100,000. Again, significant benefit to having somebody who knows the district, who knows some of the work that has happened over the last 7-8 years within this. And so we're in a unique spot to leverage his expertise within this. And so it would be a part of this work. And so it breaks down that it's a small dollar amount for summer school and then sort of an equal split for High School of the Future, High School for the Future. Member Bryden, I think we've landed on High School for the Future, and then a amount for project management for the redistricting. So just wanted to like put that out there so there was light here on this. And then just Chair, if it's all right, we would ask that we do both a first and a second read so that we can have this work officially start.
Okay, so for that motion, then I'm gonna first just get a motion to forego a second read on this motion. Thank you, Board Member Opperman. Second, Board Member Figdor. Any questions from the board on that? Yes, Vice Chair Bondo, go ahead.
Yeah, I just need to clarify. So it's gonna be just 1 year contract, or it's gonna ongoing?
It's actually not even a contract for employment. It is a contract for consulting work, which is defined with 3 sets of deliverables.
All right, thank you. Understand. Thank you.
Thank you. We're not going to take public comments, personnel issue, any board discussion. Yes, board member.
I just have a question. Are we voting right now on the
To forego
contract?
a
We're
second
just
read.
voting on whether we should vote tonight.
Oh, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Which isn't a personnel issue, so there should be a public comment. Oh my goodness, Robert's rules. Any public comment on that? I don't see any. I'm going to close public comment. Board discussion? Okay, so now we're going to vote if you are in favor of bypassing a second read on this, the consideration and action to approve Aaron Townsend consulting contract. Deputy Superintendent, can you call the roll? Can you call the roll? This feels like a conflict of interest. Thank you very much.
Board Member Ali,
Yes.
Board Member Billiou, Vice Chair Bondo,
Yes.
Board Member Bryden,
Yes.
Board Member Figdor,
Yes.
Board Member Grant,
Yes.
Board Member Noor,
Yes.
Board Member Opperman,
Yes.
Student Representative Hayden, Student Representative Kantiba,
Yes.
Student Representative Knight, Student Representative McDonald,
Yes.
Student Representative Rosado, Chair Lentz.
Yes, so we have overrode a second read on this motion. So now I'm going to bring the motion to the floor for a vote. Is there a motion for the consideration and action to approve Aaron Townsend consulting contract? Thank you, Board Member Bryden. Second to Board Member Opperman. Are there any questions from the board? Yes. Okay. Seeing no questions from the board, I'm going to open it up to public comment. And if there are public comment, it would be on the contract, not the person. See no Zoom hands. Let me just double check. I'm going to close public comment. Any board discussion? Then by roll call vote, please indicate if you are in favor of the consideration and action to approve Aaron Townsend consulting contract. Superintendent, will you please call the roll?
Board Member Ali,
Yes.
Board Member Billiou, Board Member Vice Chair Bondo,
Yes.
Board Member Bryden,
Yes.
Board Member Figdor,
Yes.
Board Member Grant,
Yes.
Board Member Noor,
Yes.
Board Member Opperman,
Yes.
Student Representative Hayden, Student Representative Kantiba,
Yes.
Student Representative McDonald,
Yes.
Chair Lentz.
Yes, so the motion passes unanimously, and we get to keep you a little bit longer. Thank you, Aaron Townsend. Now we're going to move on to personnel, and just to double check, Superintendent, we need a vote on this tonight as well.
Correct.
Okay, so up tonight, we have the consideration and action to authorize the superintendent or designee to begin the hiring process on June 19th, 2024 through August 1st, 2024 for all budgeted vacancies without seeking prior school board approval to advertise or fill. Barrett, did you want to speak to this?
Yep, this is a standing practice, allows us to hire over the summer for PEA and PAA positions that we would bring forward to you at our first meeting after the summer recess.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for that context. So first, we're going to do a vote, and we're going to skip the roll call this time. We're just going to do an all in favor. But is there a motion to override a second read of this motion? Thank you, Board Member Bryden. Second by Board Member Opperman. I'll get you next time, Board Member Noor. All those in favor of overriding the second read? Thank you. Okay, I think that was pretty close to unanimous. Now we have the consideration and action to authorize the superintendent or designee to begin hiring process on June 19th. Is there a motion for this? Thank you, Board Member Noor. Thank you very much. Is there a second? Thank you, Vice Chair Bondo. Any questions from the board? Double check Zoom. Okay, I see no questions. Any public, it's personnel, no public comment, any discussion from the board? Okay, seeing none, then by roll call vote, please indicate whether you are in favor of the consideration and action to authorize the superintendent or designee to begin the hiring process on June 19th, 2024 through August 1st, 2024 for all budgeted vacancies without seeking prior school board approval to advertise or fill. Deputy Superintendent, will you please call your very last roll call?
Member Ali,
Yes.
Vice Chair Bondo,
Yes.
Member Bryden,
Yes.
Member Figdor,
Yes.
Member Grant,
Yes.
Member Noor,
Yes.
Member Opperman,
Yes.
Student Representative Kintiba,
Yes.
Student Representative McDonald,
Yes.
and Chair Lentz.
Yes, so that motion passes unanimously with the students voting with the majority. And now up next, we have consideration and action to enter into executive session pursuant to 1 MRSA 40560 to discuss ed tech negotiations. I'd look for a motion or a motion. Oh gosh, this is, the heat is really getting to me. Board Member Opperman, is there a second? Thank you, Board Member Noor. Just a quick point of discussion before we vote, which is Board Member Grant will not be joining these conversations because of his role on the MEA. So all those in favor of moving into executive session, raise your hands. Okay, beautiful. Board Member Grant abstained. All others voted in the affirmative. Please take a 5-minute break on the way to executive session. Okay, beautiful. Is there a motion to adjourn? Board Member Figdor, is there a second? Board Member Opperman, all in favor? Unanimous. We are adjourned at 9:27 p.m. Thank you. Thank you.